Hi, this is Ashley, and I am here to talk to you about my thoughts on Undertow by Michael Buckley. If you have not read this book, which you may not have because it hasn't been out that long, if you haven't read it, I have all my thoughts on the book completely spoiler free. I will leave a link below as well as a link right here. And I hope you guys check that out if you haven't, but I'm going to go into some spoilers in this. So yeah, check out now if you haven't read this book. Undertow by Michael Buckley is about a girl named Lyric, and pretty much from the very beginning you know that there's something up with her, but for the first 50 pages they play this little game where it's just like, we're not going to tell you what's wrong, but we're going to dunk this girl underneath the water and suddenly she can breathe, and there's a whole bunch of weird stuff that happens, and it's just kind of like, why don't you just straight out tell us that she is one of the alpha? And eventually they do, and once they do, things get a lot better because they are no longer playing that little game anymore. Lyric's mother is a Serena, and Serena are kind of like Siren, which are like mermaids. So when her mom, Summer, gets in the water, her legs turn into big blue fin, and she gets all fluorescent scales all over her skin, and it's really cool. I found it really interesting. I wanted to know more, and eventually we did get to know more. Lyric is this awesome girl. The one problem that I had with her was that she was constantly being told that she was a wild thing and that she was a troublemaker, but we never really saw that. We just got tales from the past because that's something that apparently she stopped doing when she was like 14, when the alpha first arrived. I just didn't like the fact that we're constantly being told that she was so bad, but it was just hard to believe because the Lyric that I got to know was a really sweet person, a really caring person, a person that really wasn't that wild but wasn't afraid to stand up for what she believed in either. And it was a person that I liked just as she was, and I didn't need this backstory that she was some wild thing. There is an element in this book about the wild thing where there's this kind of voice that is talking to her throughout the book. And it doesn't happen very much in the beginning, but it does happen throughout enough that you notice it. And it isn't until the very end that you realize that it's actually the voice of the sea. And it's really interesting once you finally get that revealed, and it makes a lot more sense as to why there's this thought beating in her head telling her what she should do. And it's just really interesting because it doesn't seem like Lyric when you read that stuff in the book, and once you find out that it really isn't really Lyric, it makes a lot more sense, and I just really enjoyed that. So we knew all along that Lyric was half alpha, but actually seeing her get to like flex her abilities, the fact that she is one of the people that can control the sea and can hear the voice and use the gauntlet was amazing. It was a nice little touch that I really enjoyed. Also the fact that when she went under, she thought that she was drowning, which didn't make any sense to me because I'm pretty sure there was a moment earlier in the book where she realized that she could breathe underwater just fine. But regardless, she ended up realizing that she could just completely breathe underwater. All of a sudden she gets all the scales like her mother, but she doesn't get the tail, so she is still completely different, and she uses the voice to move through the water. And I just really enjoyed that little touch, the fact that she is very much Serena, but she can also use the gauntlet, and that is a thing that even some alpha can't do. And I love the fact that they're going to go off and find more of the half-breed kids. There were a lot of alpha in this story. We didn't get to meet a whole lot of different ones, but we did get to pretty much meet a different kind. So one of the most interesting ones was a little girl named Bumper, and she was really tiny, but she was described as the one that looked the most weird. Her face was like gelatinous and white, and she had like these black eyes, and the fact that she was able to kill a girl with kind of just like electricity and control her was really interesting. I really loved that little aspect. And she was a Seto, and I just thought the Seto fighters were kind of cool. The main alpha that we get to know, Fathom, he's a Triton. From the description that I remember, he kind of just looks kind of like a dude, except for he's got these almost like bone claws that like shoot out of his wrist and that he can fight with. and I thought that was really cool. Then there's also the Nyx, and they have like these bone plates that come out of their skin. And what I found really interesting was that whenever they described like the bone plates or the bone that extended out of their bodies, it was always described as being really jagged and ripping their skin, like it wasn't clean and almost wasn't supposed to be that way. And I found that really interesting, that there's all this pain just from being who they were. And then there were the Sirena. Those are, like I said, they're kind of like the mermaid people. There were a couple other races, but the big bad race was the Rusalka, and the moment they were actually described when Lyric saw them was they were disgusting. So they were described as having human lower halves with these huge nasty webbed feet, but it was really the fact that they described the torso as being like a toad, and they had these jagged mouths with sharp teeth. It was really just kind of creepy, and I didn't like it, but they were the really big bads. Bex was Lyric's best friend. Bex came from a really bad home. Like, her mother is a bad mother who let her daughter get beat, and at one point her daughter almost gets raped until she finally realizes that she can't let this keep happening to her daughter by her stepfather. They finally make her stepfather go away, but at that point it's too late, and Bex finally goes to actually stay with Lyric and her family. You really get the sense that Bex is as much part of the family as Lyric is, and I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that close friendship between Lyric and Bex. It felt really genuine, and it was really funny to watch. But also with Bex, there was this relationship with this boy named Shadow. His name was Tito Ramirez. He ended up being Bex's boyfriend, and they were like all three of them were best friends, and I just really, really loved Shadow. I didn't realize how attached I'd gotten to him until he was killed off, and I actually exclaimed. So I really enjoyed that relationship and seeing them all together. And I would be really awful if I didn't mention Mr. Doyle, who is this principal of the school who was ex-military, and he was the one who really set Lyric up to be in this awful position where she was forced to spend an hour every day with Fathom, the alpha prince. And they were supposed to be fostering a relationship, and it really did work out, but it really put Lyric in such awful positions where she was being stalked. She had to have police escorts everywhere, and people were attacked, and that's part of the reason why Shadow ended up dying, and it all just was bad news bears. I just really enjoyed seeing Mr. Doyle and how he was still trying to care for Lyric and her whole family. He was getting them the papers that they needed to get out of Coney Island, even though it didn't work out for them. But he was helping, and even after he disappeared, and he's out there trying to help Lyric find her father, who is currently in police custody. I really, really loved this book. It started out kind of lukewarm for me, and then just got progressively better and better. I've never read many mermaid stories, so I don't really know much, but this really feels like it's kind of different. Like, you really have these full races of all different kinds of these undersea creatures that are kind of human-like, and I just really, really enjoyed it. Like I said, I will be going and picking up the hardcover because I really just want this book, and I know that I'll be continuing on with the series. If you are interested in Undertow, or if you've read it, why don't you guys let me know what you think about the book in the comments below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye. My thoughts on A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. And I am so excited to finally be able to talk to you about this and just have my hands on it. I love it. So I am going to go ahead and give you all my thoughts on this book. This will be complete